This is what's left of houses near the frontline town of Zolote. By midday Tuesday, February 18th, 2,300 explosions rocked the area as Ukrainian troops and Russian-backed separatist forces clashed in some of their fiercest fighting. Alexander Kornev was in his house when the first series of explosions went off.
I had just turned around and then there was a boom. I was thrown back to the steps. I was lying down for 20 minutes.
Ukraine said Russian fighters attempted to advance across the separatist line into Zolote, but were repelled.
We have a powerful army. Provocations happen. The army responded firmly.
CBN News journeyed 90 miles south from Zolote to another battle-scarred village. Numerous Ukrainian checkpoints meant we were getting close to the front lines. Traveling with us, Sergei Rakuba, who grew up in this region of Ukraine.
We're in the village of Opytna, which was a vibrant, dynamic community before the war started between Russia and Ukraine. And the front line is basically separating this village in half.
Rakuba, joined by a team from the Mennonite Brethren Church, delivered food, water, and other essentials to families and soldiers living in Opytnaya. February 2014, Russian so-called separatists launched a massive hybrid war into this part of eastern Ukraine, in essence taking a chunk of the country. 6 years later, communities like this one are a ghost town, except for a few families who have lived here for most of their lives and who vow never to leave. Once home to 700 people, only 60 now live in Opytnaya. There's been no electricity, gas, or running water for more than 5 years. The streets here lined with bullet-scarred homes, the majority of houses unlivable.
But we know that even here, God is here, and people need to know the hope of God that He brings, the salvation. And so, again, a special privilege to be able to pass out gifts, hand out food, and pray with people, and just share the love of Christ.
Rakuba and Wiebe climbed the steps of a bombed-out apartment building carrying supplies.
They have no light for the last 5 years. Come on in, guys.
The 78-year-old Lida. She lives in this tiny room with her son and 4 cats. No heat, no water, very little food.
But there is no place to go for me. There is nobody, I can go to. And I'm staying here, I'm just waiting. I lived here for 50 years, and I will stay here.
Pro-Russian rebels control half her village and much of eastern Ukraine, including key cities of Donetsk and Luhansk.
They still here shooting, farther there, at least once a day, once every 2 days. They still here shooting.
14,000 people lost their lives in this region, half since Russia and Ukraine signed an agreement to end the war 5 years ago. 30,000 have been wounded and nearly 2 million people displaced from their homes. Rakuba says it's a forgotten war, and it weighs on him.
My teenage years and youth were spent here in the towns of eastern Ukraine. I remember how difficult it was for a Christian at that time to share one's faith, and in general for the church to be of influence in Soviet society. The war over the past few years has added even more darkness.
So why don't we pray? We'll pray in Russian if you don't mind.
Rakuba, a native of Ukraine, now lives in the US and heads Mission Eurasia, a Tennessee-based group training young people to transform the countries of the former Soviet Union for Jesus Christ.
Our vision at Mission Eurasia is to bring hope to society through young leaders and now bring the gospel to the next generation and to those living through difficult situations like in eastern Ukraine.
Hundreds of Mission Eurasia leaders and volunteers recently crisscrossed the war zone and countries of the former Soviet Union, delivering 120,000 Gift of Hope boxes to children. CBN News was there as dozens of youngsters met in this church basement to pack boxes.
This is so exciting to see so many young people are working on this project, and this is just one of the packing and distribution locations.
Several teams fanned out across towns and villages near the conflict zone holding evangelistic outreaches geared to reaching young people, many hearing the gospel presentation for the very first time.
I learned Jesus can help me in many difficult moments and help me not to give up.
Each event ending with boxes of hope given to hundreds of children, each containing toys, school supplies, a Christian kids magazine called Spark, and a children's storybook Bible. Once the kids get back to their apartments, they're obviously excited about rummaging through their gifts and looking at all the various things that they got. Incidentally, the Bible, along with the Spark magazine and each shoebox, has this QR code on the back, so they can use their smartphone, scan the code, and within seconds they will have access to all the various local churches that they can get plugged into. Canada-based Share Word Global partnered with Mission Eurasia to distribute the Spark magazine and place QR codes on each box, linked to a Bible app with loads of information for kids and parents.
The Bible app includes multiple languages in different translations of the Bible, and there's over 200 languages that are in audio as well.
Rakuba says every Gift of Hope box placed in a child's hands is a chance to introduce the love of Jesus and impact families in a war zone.
The boxes symbolize the future with Christ, and when put into the hands of children, they take them home. They and their families will realize that there's hope in God, hope in Jesus.
George Thomas, CBN News, Opatnaya, Eastern Ukraine.